Yeah, I think it's working.
Yeah.
Should we start? Okay. Should we start then, or are we waiting for more people to join in the waiting room?
Let's go ahead and start.
Okay. So assalamualaikum everyone. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the MIST info session. I'm Naziha. I'm one of the program coordinators, and today we're going to give you guys an overview of how registration and competitions are going to run this year. So we will start with so here's the agenda for today. We're going to do a short opening dua. Then we'll introduce you to the comps and registration chairs and organizers. We'll have a quick recap video, and then we're going to start with all your registration questions, and then we'll move on to the competitions after that. So, okay, Mahreen. So where's are we doing the dua video? Are we starting with that or no?
Yeah, let's start with the dua video.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to just test it out to make sure that it's working for you? Oh, there we go.
Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, cool.
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad. Inshallah, I will deliver a short recitation along with a short khatira. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تهزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون. نحن أولياؤكم في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ولكم فيها ما تشتهي أنفسكم ولكم فيها ما تدعون. نزلا من غفور رحيم. صدق الله المولانا العظيم وصدق رسوله نبي الكريم. These are three ayah in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes one of his servants. Now, we are all pleading to be one of Allah's servants. And at the end of the day, we all want to have a glad and happy ending when we're about to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in these three ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala depicts one of his servants who is on his or her deathbed. And from these ayah, we know that this person is a righteous, pious person. But even then, they're still afraid of what they're going to leave behind in terms of what kind of sins they've committed or the kind of oppression they've committed. And even down to the kinds of acts, the good deeds that they've committed, but that have not been committed for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so on their deathbed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down angels. And the whole purpose of the angels being sent down is to reassure the servant. And what exactly do they reassure the servant with? Let's go back to the ayah. They say, Allah takhafu wa la tahzanu, meaning do not fear and do not grieve. Ibn Kathir mentions something very interesting here. Ibn Kathir mentions that when these angels say, do not fear and do not grieve, by fear they're referring to the akhirah. So do not be afraid, because you're actually entering the best of abodes, you're entering Jannah. You do not need to fear your akhirah. And then when they say do not grieve, they're referring to the dunya. They're referring to how the person is leaving this world and going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they're leaving behind children, they're leaving behind wealth, they're leaving behind potentially wells of information, knowledge, and so on. And the person who's passing away, of course, is afraid of what's going to happen to it, what's going to happen to their children, what's going to happen to their wealth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down these angels to say, do not grieve. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of all your affairs. So this is the ultimate death. We want a positive ending to our life. And of course, it's kind of gloom to think of right now, but we should always remind ourselves of death while we are healthy, while we are alive. So how can we live a life that is beautiful so that we can have a beautiful ending? One of the ways that we've been taught is that all of our actions should be oriented solely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What else will benefit us in the akhirah except if it is done for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Think of it this way. You're leaving the world and you've done masses of good deeds, but now you're doubting whether you did it purely for the sake of Allah or whether there was an inch, maybe even a centimeter worth of pride in that deed, or even solely one reason could be perhaps you did that deed just because you want to impress somebody. Wallahi, we should always remind ourselves that at the end of the day, we're trying to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, we're all in this together. We're all hoping to succeed and all hoping to help each other succeed in order to make sure that, missed is a success. But we should always remember and remind ourselves, and of course there's benefit in reminder, that at the end of the day, all actions are fruitless unless they're done for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything you do, because one, it'll be blessed, but two, it'll help you realign your intentions. So the bottom line of these ayahs is that we want to have a beautiful ending, but in order to get there, we need to have a beautiful life. And a beautiful life is one in which we're constantly orienting ourselves towards the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So even while you're designing a graphic or organizing a competition or organizing a meeting for that sake, always remember that even though it seems menial, with the right intention, that is the intention of pleasing Allah or benefiting to the ummah, you are actually committing or contributing in a massive way to your own akhirah. So be selfish for good deeds, but be selfless to help others get those too. Jazakallahu khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
All right, so Jazakallah khair for that important reminder. Next, we are gonna go with introductions. So I'd like Radena, I guess, to start, and then everybody else can go.
All right. Wait, do you want to do the video first, or should I?
No, that was by mistake.
Okay, cool. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Are you?
Okay.
I'm joking. It's okay. The video is really, really amazing, but I'll introduce myself first. My name is Radena, and I am one of the registration co-chairs alongside the beautiful Camila, who is not with us unfortunately today. What else should I say? That's it. Do we keep going, or does someone else want to?
Yeah, I can go. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Michelle. I am one of the competition's co-chair, along with the lovely Nada. I'm really excited. We're really excited to create some really cool competitions for all of you and hopefully clear up any questions or confusions you guys may have about the new competitions or the changes in competitions that are taking place.
Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Nada and I'm the comms co-chair along with Michelle. And yeah, everything that Michelle said stands true to me as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys. So now we are going to, sorry,
Okay.
the thing is, we're just gonna play the Miss Recap video just to refresh you guys' memories and just remind you what Miss is about. Okay, so I hope that was motivating and inspiring. We're just gonna move on with registration next. So
All
Rodina's
right.
gonna take over, and
All right. Anyways, I'm not crying. You guys are crying. Guys, I love that video, and inshallah, I cannot wait until we have that sort of mist again. But nonetheless, we have an amazing mist plan for you guys this year, and it's literally nothing like you've ever experienced before, inshallah. So the first step to enjoying that mist is a registration. So when you first hear about mist, you belong to one or two categories. So I'm just going to explain the process of registering for MIST for either or. So you're either a student who already has a MIST team at their school, or you are a student who does not have a MIST team at their school. So if you are a student that has a MIST team at their school, you can contact us. If you don't know who the ambassador at your school is, you can contact us via our email or registration@mrtoronto.com or on any social media and ask us who your ambassador is, and we connect you with your ambassador, and then you guys can talk about which competitions still have spaces open, which competitions you'd like to join, etc. And then there's a second step which is common for both categories, which we'll get into next. If you are a student in a school that does not have a MIST team, it's a new school, you would first need to sign up as an ambassador or have a representative at your school sign up as an ambassador. So an ambassador is a high school student who would like to take the leadership position of leading their school into MIST. So what that entails is getting all your team ready, getting them all registered into our registration system, making sure the competitions are distributing the competitions properly according to our guidelines, ensuring everyone's registered and finalized and paid, even though this year obviously our MIST is free of charge, but during regular years you'd make sure everybody has paid, and then also leading your team at MIST. So ensuring that everyone's hyped and motivated and joining all sorts of events pre-MIST. So we have a lot of spirit competitions and spirit events, and events such as this one right here. Just getting them really motivated and leading them throughout the whole MIST process. So just to recap, you either have a MIST team and you connect to your ambassador, or your school doesn't have a MIST team and you assign an ambassador, and you will find our ambassador form on our website, mrtoronto.com. So then the next step is to register on our registration system, which is called MyMIST, my.getmistified.com. And we have a video that explains the registration process very thoroughly. So I'm just gonna let Naziha play that right now.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mustafa, and today I'm excited to show you the new MIST registration platform, MyMIST, which you will be able to use to register for your local MIST. Today we're going to go through what it looks like to register as a student. So when you first get to MyMIST, you'll see a list of all of the events that are offered at MIST. Let's say today we want to sign up for MIST Toronto 2020. So I can click on register. I don't actually have an account yet, so I'm going to click on new user sign up. Here I can type in my first name and last name and my email, just like a standard sign-in, standard account creation on a website, and a long, memorable passphrase. That is super secure and that no one is going to guess, so that my account stays secure. Now that I've created my account, it says please check your email to confirm your account. So I've got my email over here. There we go. There's an email from MyMIST, and we're going to click on confirm my account. This is going to take us back to the MyMIST page, where we're going to be able to log in with that email we just created and the passphrase we just created. And now it gives us our profile page where we can edit our profile. So first things first, we're going to upload a picture of ourselves so that when MIST organizers are looking at My MIST, they can recognize us. And we're going to put in our date of birth. Let's say I was born in 2006, January 30th. And gender, and our phone number. And we're signing up as a student, sorry. So we're gonna put in student, and we're signing up for MIST Toronto. If you have any food allergies or disabilities, you can put them in the special accommodations. For now, we know this is a Muslim event, so we want halal food. And then the next step is to put in your school. So I'm looking for a school called White Oak Secondary School in Oakville. This school already exists, so I can select it. If I did not find it, I would be able to click on Add New School, and I could enter all of the details for my school. But in this case, this school is already here. So I'm going to click on it, and now we need to upload our school verification, a picture of your student ID or your report card, something to show that you go to this school. If you're on your phone, you can actually click on, instead of uploading a picture, you can click on the camera button, and you'll be able to take a picture of your student ID right then and there, which is super convenient. So now that we've saved our profile information and our school information, it takes us back to the list of all of the events, and we're going to go back down to MIST Toronto 2020, and we're going to hit register. And so for MIST Toronto 2020, we want to register as a student. And now we have the waiver. This is a standard set of guidelines, terms and conditions that we've been using across MIST for the past few years. It says, oh, we see you're under 18 years old. Is your parent or guardian present? If my parent or guardian was not present, I could put in their email address and they would get an email to sign on my behalf. But for today, we're going to pretend that our parent is here and our mom is actually going to go ahead and sign right here on the signature pad and say, yes, it is okay for Mustafa to participate in MIST. So we agree. And here we can select the competitions that we want to compete in. So let's say I want to compete in short fiction, and I want to compete in culinary arts. And if you see culinary arts and scrapbook have stars in the name, that's because they are special competitions that are not offered at all of the MIST regions. But other than that, they are normal arts competitions. So I'm going to compete in culinary arts. And maybe I also want to compete in science fair. So I hit continue, and it gives us a summary. If I had a coupon code, you could type it in here. I don't currently have a coupon code, so I'm just going to agree and submit. Now the registration fee is $50, and MIST puts an 8% administrative fee on top of that. So our total is going to be $54. And we get to this billing information where you can edit your name, your email, and then your parents' card information, or your card information. So I'm going to put in credit card and the expiry date, 3/23. This is a fake credit card. Don't worry, I'm not putting my real credit card in, but when you go ahead, please put your real credit card information. Otherwise, we will reject the payment. So now that I have my credit card information, I can click on Make Payments, and loads for a second. It says, we have received your payment. A receipt and payment confirmation have been sent to your email address. So let's go check our email, and sure enough, we're going to get an email that says, payments confirmed. We have received your payment regarding the event, MIST Toronto. You registered as a student. Here's how much you paid. Here's an administrative fee. And here's a transaction ID in case you need to reference it when you're talking to a MIST admin. So now we are fully signed up for MIST Toronto 2020. And if we wanted to change which competitions we're in, we could click on Manage Competitions, and it would show up here. We could click on this Edit button, and maybe I changed my mind. I'm not going to do culinary arts. I want to do photography instead. So I could change that and hit Save, and that would get updated on this page. That's really all I had to show you today. Thank you, whichever region you're in. And don't forget to always trust the process.
All right. Thank you guys for listening to that video. Again, it basically
Assalamu
Oh.
alaikum. My name is
scared
Mustafa.
me for a second. Yeah, so that is basically how to register on our website. And once you register on MyMist, you have basically registered for Miss Toronto. So the questions that I want to answer that were not covered in the video is you can change your competitions. Oh, sorry, it was just one thing before I say that. If you can change your competitions up until the registration deadline, so I know that he showed that you can change your competitions, you can definitely do that, but up until the registration deadline, which is February 13th. So by February 13th, everything should be finalized. So how can new schools register? Again, so if you are a new school, you must assign an ambassador. So you can have up to 2 ambassadors, and you would just sign up on our sign up form. And once you sign up there, you can we can contact you and give you any more information that you need in order to complete your registration with your team. Next question. And I'll get to the chat questions right after. I go to an online school, so I'm not affiliated with a school as of now. How do I register for MES? So I understand, we understand that a lot of students go to a virtual school this year. So we would like for you all to register with the school that you would have gone to. For your school ID, you can either, if you went to the school the previous year, you can put your previous year's ID, or you can just show us that you go to a virtual school. So if you have your report card for that, then you can show us that and just register with the school that you would have gone to if you did not go to a virtual school. This is obviously a rule that only applies for this year, or however many years, inshallah, just this year that we are virtual, but yeah. What are Spirit points, competitions, and awards? So our Spirit registration handles Spirit, which is a category of competitions and events that are not directly related to the tournament competitions. So we do events such as our game nights. We run competitions such as Twitter memes, TikTok competitions, Instagram competitions, etc., where you just kind of post your Spirit and your preparations for Mist or Mist memories, etc. And those participating in those competitions and events will gain you Spirit points. So those Spirit points count towards Spirit awards. So our Spirit awards, we have our overall Spirit awards, which are first, second, and third. They're awarded with a trophy on the awards night, and those are determined by accumulation of the most amount of Spirit points. So if you and your team attend a bunch of Spirit competitions, a bunch of workshops, events such as today, we award you guys certain points for each one, and whoever accumulates the most gets first, second, third. And then we also have other various smaller awards, such as like most mystified, most involved, stuff like that, where certain things account for awards. So such as, so for most involved award, it would be who shows up to our workshops the most. For most mystified awards is who, which schools compete in our competitions the most, our Spirit competitions the most. So that being involved in these competitions will gain you awards during our award night. So with that being said, please drop down your school names in the chat box so we can give you guys awards for attending today, inshallah. What is a role of a captain on MyMist? So if you are the captain on MyMist, usually it is one of the ambassadors, and it's not covered in the video, so I wanted to mention it now. If you're the captain on MyMist, you will be in charge of approving all the students on your team. So you must go through all the students that sign up on your team, approve them. You will have access to see their competitions. You will have access to edit their competition. So if someone signed up for a competition that they weren't supposed to sign up for, you can change that. You can add competitions to certain people, etc. And then when registration comes to an end, you must finalize your registration.
Thank you, Rodina. So we also have some questions in the chat. I think
Okay.
Mehreen will read them out to you that people just
Mhm.
asked. So let's get those answered.
Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Mehreen. I'm one of the associate directors for this year, and I have the great job of reading out your questions. So, Rodina, get ready. All right. So, first question we have in the chat: are students allowed to select 2 competitions in one category? Because that's not possible on MyMist.
It's not possible on MyMist because unfortunately it's not possible. You're only allowed 1 competition per category.
Fantastic. And we have a general question for Quran recitation. What will the competitors need to practice for the event, or are they allowed to recite a surah of their choice? Also, how many surahs do they need to recite? So for this question, I actually advise that you go onto the Miss Toronto website and go to the rule book, which will outline your what the requirements are for the competitions. And I'll post the link to this in the chat right now. So if you want to go check it out. For any competition, if you just want to take a look at the rule book, that should answer all your questions.
Okay, there was also one which said which ID should be used for grade 9 students since they do not have school photo ID and they haven't had any physical report cards either.
For that, I would suggest putting in any government ID which shows your age. So a health card would work. Yeah, I feel like that's probably what a grade 9 would have. So if you can post a picture of your health card, which clearly outlines name and age, so date of birth.
Sorry, yeah, I'm scrolling up too. There's another question about esports. So there will be a section in this program that will go over esports. Right, thank you, Nazia, for catching that question. Next question. For those of you who have been enrolled in the virtual high schools and you haven't received any report cards yet, you should be able to screenshot the fact that you're enrolled in your online school.
Yeah, I think anything that has your name on it and that
Yeah.
says that you go to a school.
All right.
I think there's also one from Mariam which asks if people from different schools who do not have MIS can compete as a guest for another guest, since some of my teammates do not have super smart. Okay, so I think that Michelle will answer those questions because they're related to comps. So any questions you have related to competitions, Michelle will be answering those for you soon. So knowledge test, all that stuff, that is going to be posted and Michelle will be answering that as well. Rodina, for you is, do we need coaches this year? So if you can...
No, we don't need coaches this year. And I see another questions about Spirit. I understand that some of the Spirit competitions may seem like that you have to have gone to MIST before. That's not necessarily the case. I think the Twitter memes one kind of had to do with the fact that like you knew about MIST, but we have a bunch of different competitions and events that you don't necessarily have to go to a MIST before. So our upcoming competition is a create your own MIST competition, which is basically you kind of just get creative and think about something that you would like to see at MIST happening, and you create the rules for it and the ballots for it, and you can base that off of our rule book, which is accessible. Mehreen just posted it. We also have a banners competition where you create a MIST banner. And again, like we have game nights and workshops that you can attend that will gain you a lot of Spirit points.
Okay, I think we have one more similar question, so let's just get that. So if your school does not have a MIST team, would you choose the school you compete with, or will MIST decide for you?
Okay, so if your school does not have a MIST team, each student must compete with their own school. So we accept even like if you are one student that wants to compete at your school, you can join with as a one-person team. Most, if not all, most our competitions except one, I believe, allow one, like can allow one person competing. So yeah, if your school doesn't have a Miss team, you can create one by assigning yourself as an ambassador. If you can bring in more people, that would be great. And you guys can all compete together as one school. But if you can't, then you can compete as a one-person school. I hope that clarifies it.
If we have any other registration specific questions, please ask them now. So all the knowledge book and Quran questions are for comps. Michelle will be answering those soon. But if you have anything specifically for registration, for which team to compete with, things like that, we could ask that. If not, we'll be moving on to comps. They'll be explaining all the questions you guys have just asked right now. So I think we'll move on. Yeah, so all your questions that you have for registration, you can email them. And also the registration clip that we just played is available on YouTube. So you can watch that again to help you register. So over to comps. Michelle and Nada will be helping you out from now on.
Welcome everyone. So inshallah, we'll be going through some of the new competitions that we have, the tournament dates, the submission dates, and any other competition specific information that you need to know. Starting off with the tournament dates, inshallah. So for now, the tournament will be happening between March 15th and the 19th. And since we're all at home this year, we're going to be having the tournament spread out throughout the week. So some of the competitions might be, on a Monday, some of them might be on a Wednesday, and that schedule will be released closer to the tournament, inshallah. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah. Go ahead. Am I frozen? I can't tell if I'm frozen or not.
I can hear you, Michelle.
Okay. Okay, so we got a lot of questions about the submission dates. Early submission is 2 weeks before the tournament. So whatever date the tournament will be held on, creative writing, which is poetry, short fiction, and personal narrative, it's prepared essay, should be submitted March 1st. As for the rest of the competitions, which we'll go in depth about regarding whether they're live or whether they're submission, 2D art, math design, graphic design, screenwriting, short film, spoken word, nasheed, photography, and humanitarian service, they require your submissions to be in one document and submitted onto the link, which you can find on the website underneath early submissions or submission form. And they should have your name as well as your ID so we can get those to the judges before the tournament starts.
Mm-hmm. For these specific competitions, so spoken word, nasheed, photography, short film, and humanitarian service, there will be both a submission component and a live interview component. So make sure that you still submit your whatever you need to submit for that specific competition on the 14th or by 12 a.m. on the 14th, so that we can have the live interviews happen whenever the competition is happening. So don't forget to do both. And then just like Michelle said, label it according to Miss ID and your name and school name.
And then that closely relates to that of live competitions. So these competitions are going to be only live, and the links will be sent out to the emails that you register with. So for extemp essay, extemp speaking, brothers and sisters Quran, as well as knowledge test and MISPOL, those are all only going to be live. So you are expected to show up on time for the dates that have been emailed to you and set to you following the link that has been sent to you as well. And they don't require any sort of submission ahead of time. Any questions about that? No. Okay.
Next slide. Okay, so there are a couple of competitions that we are launching this year for the first time, inshallah, and we're very, very excited about them. One of them being screenwriting. So screenwriting is basically a different, it's a part of short film, but you can compete in screenwriting on your own. So if you are interested in doing short film, but you don't have a team of people to do it with, you can either do it with a group of 6 people and submit a script with the group, or you can do it solo. So it is another alternative for short film. And check out the rulebook for the rest, or sorry, the addendum, the Toronto specific addendum for the rest of the rules that are associated with screenwriting.
And another new competition we have this year, specifically for Toronto, is that of mask design. So because we know that everyone is wearing masks these days, having one that stands out makes all the difference and is unique. So the competition essentially entails that you are to use the mask as your canvas, and following the theme, create a piece of art that is put on the mask. And it has to also be wearable, so following all the Canadian guidelines that have been set. This competition may or may not have cool prizes, as opposed to how 2D art usually is. So definitely register if art is something you are interested in.
Next. Right. Now is the time to put all your questions in the chat if you have any, so that Michelle and I can answer them. But we can go through some frequently asked questions, like where can we find student materials, such as the knowledge test and principles. So you can find them at getmystified.com, right? Yes, getmystified.com. Under the rulebook, you should see links to all the knowledge test books and the MISPOL books.
Yeah. Currently, knowledge test and MISPOL do not have their topics released yet. So inshallah, in the coming week, they should be released. But yes, so definitely look out for those when that's where they're going to be posted, as well as we'll be releasing it on our social media, just updating all of you guys. Oh, yep, there they are. And then how will competitions such as spoken word and nasheed work? Will it be video submission or will it be live? So like we mentioned before, they are submission based, but they're also live. We just require you to have your submission so we can play it in front of the judges as you're present there, and then they can ask you questions afterwards. For spoken word, you can either let it play how in the video that you submitted, or you can perform it live for the judges, and they can give you the feedback that you require.
And then for how many students are allowed for competition from each school, we will be going through that in the next slide, inshallah. But I see a couple of questions in the chat. I'm not sure if we should go through them now or wait till the end.
If you like, I can read out the chat questions.
Lovely, yeah.
All right, so one question we have here, what needs to be prepared for the live interviews?
So essentially for the live interviews, you would have to go through what is in the rulebook in terms of when you scroll down underneath where the ballot is, it has exactly listed what the judges are going to be expecting of you. So what inspired your piece, what led you to make your piece, what was involved in creating your piece, or what is the meaning behind your piece. Those are just a few questions that they could ask. So preparing answers to all the questions that are listed in the rulebook, you should be set for whatever questions the judges might put your way.
Next question, on the rule book, there is a category called original oratory, but I can't find it on the registration. I'm assuming I missed.
So with the Nationals rule book, there are some competitions that we are not offering in Toronto, one of them being original oratory. Unfortunate, or if you are interested in something like that, you can either submit something for creative writing or maybe the knowledge test. There are other competitions that are alternatives for it in Toronto. Any other questions? Okay.
Actually, there was one way in the beginning. It was about esports. So are you going to talk about that in the upcoming slides, or do we want to? Okay, so we'll leave that for later. For now, I'll be moving on to the next slide, and then we'll do the rest of the questions after that.
So yeah, these are essentially the number of competitors per school that are allowed for the competition. So they vary. So for students, it's all these competitions: 2D art, math design, graphic design, photography, extemp speaking, and extemp essay. Creative writing allows for 6 students. So you can break that off in terms of 2 for poetry, 2 for short fiction, and 2 for prepared essay or personal narrative, or you can have all 6 be for poetry or whatever you want to do. And then there's 8 students for brothers Quran each and sisters Quran each, as well as for knowledge test. And then all the group competitions allow you to have 2 groups from each school compete.
Mhm.
I see there's no category for Quran memorization, the rulebook. How is that working? So it is actually Quran recitation. That is what Nationals is holding, as well as what Toronto is holding. Essentially, the entire Quran is testable material. So the judges will ask you to read a passage from the Quran. And that is what you're going to be expected to do, not memorize the surahs.
Moving on to esports. So we're offering 6 different games this year: Fortnite, chess, FIFA, NBA, which all allow 4 students per school to enter for, and 2 students for Rocket League and Smash Bros, Super Smash Bros. You can either enter as a single player or doubles, so with a team of 2 people. I hope that answered.
There was a question. It was asking, would there be different contestants for each game, or can students do multiple games?
I think the same rule applies where you can only choose 1 game per category.
Okay.
I see a question saying, so it's that many students per school. Yes, so these numbers are per school team that is registering. That's how many number of students are allowed in esports as well as in the normal competitions.
Mhm.
Anything else?
So for frequently asked questions, will students be able to read from the Quran in the Quran recitation competition? So yes, it's not a Quran memorization competition like Michelle said. It's the entire Quran, whichever passage to read from there, instead of memorizing specific parts of the Quran. So there won't even be levels like we used to have the previous years.
Now that oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, there was a question earlier asking, what will the competitors need to practice for the event? Are they allowed to read a surah of their choice? And how many surahs do they need to recite?
So those guidelines can be found in the rulebook around underneath Quran recitation. But just to summarize that, the judges will be picking the specific passages. So like I mentioned before, the entire Quran is testable material. So they can choose from any part of the Quran for you to recite. It's not set to a specific para or anything like that. They are just testing you on your tajweed and makhraj, not on your memorizational skills. And then the next question was, can we form coalition teams with other schools or have a few students from other schools join our team? For now, because the minimum of students for group competitions are 1, so even if it's just you as one person registering from a school, you can compete. But if that does change for whatever circumstances or whatever situation, we will definitely let you know.
Any other questions in the chat?
Yeah, somebody asked about the books for knowledge test. Has that been clarified? If not, you can ask again, but I think they went over it. There's also, is there a chance for the deadline to be moved? So you guys could answer that.
So the deadline is in March 14th?
No, I think that was a question for registration and I answered it, but yeah, so currently the registration deadline is February 13th. But if you feel like that your team or yourself will not be able to register by then, just email us and we will try to accommodate you. But for now, please try and register and get your whole team registered, and competitions finalized by February 13th, inshallah.
Okay, and there was one question, what needs to be prepared for the live interviews? Was that answered? I'm just going on. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So before we end, Afia actually has some a really cool event to share with everyone. So Afia, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, okay. I still see questions in the chat. I want to make sure they're being answered. But before anyone leaves, I just want to remind you guys, if you haven't checked out our social media, that we have an event tomorrow, Saturday, February 6th at 5:30, which will be hosted by Islamic Relief Canada, and they will be talking about humanitarian service. So they'll be going over how to properly run a virtual fundraiser and some tips and tricks to make it easier for you guys. So it's going to be super interactive and really educational. So if you're interested in humanitarian service or fundraising in general, I really recommend you guys coming out to it. We'll also be doing some like fun games and awarding spirit points for those who attend. So I hope to see you all there tomorrow at 5:30. We will post the link in our bio tomorrow. Thank you.
So the link will be posted, and also where do you find the books? I think you can borrow them or buy
I
them.
actually posted the link, so just go on the Get Mystified website and then you scroll down to find the links for the books.
There was also a question, actually, I think it was answered. So book 1 is the stamped racism, anti-racism one, and then knowledge test 2 would be March by John Lewis. So that's which book is for each knowledge test. If anyone posted a question that we didn't answer, please post it again, just so we get everyone before we end.
And so for knowledge, just to clarify, if you know any of your competitors that have already registered and registered on MyMist, please make sure that they register to the corresponding knowledge test. So they can still edit their competitions now. So if they put in knowledge test 1 and they actually want to do knowledge test 2, now is the time.
So the question about Brawlhalla, so we will not be offering it. The reason being is it's very similar to Super Smash Brothers, and since we're offering that competition, we're not offering Brawlhalla. As well as the specific rules for esports, we will be posting the rule book on our page if that's not already posted. I will double check that.
So I did
Answering
post
the
a link.
question,
Sorry,
Mariam Imran was just asking how to purchase it. It's online. If you Google it, it's the first link.
I've posted the link to the books. It's getmystified.com. If you scroll up a little bit, Mariam, you can see that I posted the link to the books. And I've also posted the, that same link will take you to the rule book for Toronto. Sorry, not that same link. I posted the link to the Toronto rule book, but I shall post it again if you like.
So there's a question that asks about what are the rules regarding changing and dropping out of competitions. So you have until the registration deadline to change your competitions. So up until then, you can freely change your mind about competitions. But at that point, after the registration deadline, you can no longer change your competitions. If you decide not to show up for your competition or you want to not do it anymore, you will be causing your team to lose points. So you don't want to do that. Make sure to finalize your competitions and your choices by the registration deadline, like if you register for a competition, that you'll be able to actually attend it.
There's also a question about the knowledge test. So there's no levels of difficulty for knowledge test. They're just 2 different books. So no one is easier or harder than the other. So there's no levels of difficulty. It's just 2 different books. So there's no easier or more difficult. Ooh, Michelle, something about the short film quality, if you want to answer that.
Yeah, is there a specific video quality required for short films? There is no set quality for short films per se. For instance, when I was doing short film, a lot of like what I filmed was from a camcorder, so the quality wasn't good, but we still placed. Whereas sometimes it honestly depends on the theme of your short film is what judges look at. You can film an incredible short film with a phone camera, and you can film an incredible short film with a DSLR. It varies. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and just take a look at the ballot. I feel like it goes into more details of what the judges are looking for and what they're awarding points for.
they're not going to disqualify you or anything if your video quality isn't a DSLR quality or anything like that. So don't worry about that.
Whoever was asking about the esports rules, did you get an answer to your question? Because I see a bunch of like esports. Okay. Do we get spirit points for attending this, Radena?
Yeah, so if you still haven't written down your school, you can drop it in the chat, but everyone who put their school in the chat, I've already recorded it down. Now is the time to write it again if you want, but for sure, any sort of missed event that you attend, you will be gaining spirit points for it.
Also, Radena and Michelle, could I ask you guys to put your emails in the chat for if anyone has more questions? So I think
Yeah,
we
if you,
sure.
in this slide, it's actually there, Mizzy.
got it. Thanks. So you guys can note down those emails. You can ask any other questions you might have. Yeah, I think, does anyone else, any of you have, did we miss anything? Or Dana, Michelle, Sophia, Nata, we good? Okay. So thank you all for attending. I hope we kind of answered.
Spirit, always keep track of. Can you guys hear me? I can't tell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hear you now,
So
Radena.
for other events that we have for Spirit, just the rule of thumb is always keep a lookout on our Instagram, Facebook, on all our social media, because that's where Spirit things are happening. But I believe we have some game night coming soon. We do have our specific Spirit competitions coming up. One is coming up very soon, which is the Create Your Own competition, which is one of our biggest ones, and it will gain you a lot of points. So make sure you and a couple of your teammates as well, you can either work on it together or you can work on it separately. And we will be having 2 more competitions, one towards the end of February, which is the Instagram competition, and then the TikTok competition would be starting in March and going through the tournament.
We're also working on some fun workshops for you guys to attend, so keep an eye out for those. And then we have one last question for Quran. So Michelle or Nata, if you want to.
Yeah, it is 8 people per team for knowledge test and Quran memorization.
Is it 8 female, 8 male,
Quran
or
recitation, sorry. Yeah, no, sorry, it's not for each category, so it's per competition.
so then
So
8
It's
female
not
and
8
8
in
male?
total.
Or?
It's 8 brothers and 8 sisters for
Mhm.
Quran.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, 8 brothers, 8 sisters, and 8 knowledge tests.
8 knowledge tests
Yeah,
for each
so-
test, right?
Knowledge test 1 can have 8 students and knowledge test 2 can have 8 students.
We'll just wait a few minutes for any more questions, and then we'll wrap up the session.
And again, if your question hasn't already been answered, just post it again in case we missed it. Walaikum salam. Thanks for joining.
So
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Thanks for coming out, everyone. I hope we answered your questions.
And make
Have a
sure to
great
come out
weekend.
tomorrow to the workshop, Islamic Relief Workshop.
Okay, Afi, I think we can stop recording now.
Yeah.